let's get now into the team list. Team list Tuesday. Look, there are some massive, well, not massive changes. We knew what they were going to be. Obviously, with Fish suspension, and Barnett out. Shout out to Barnett making the Blues. That's absolutely awesome. Second year in a row, and I love it actually that we have representatives playing Origin from
Agreed.
our club. It makes our club like gives prestige, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I love that Barney's done that, and congrats to him. But changes, it brings Bunty back in. Julio 4, I think. I think his name was up on the ward, casualty ward. It's Bunty Julio 4. I'm going to start calling him Julio. Bunty's there, and Jackson Ford is in the front row.
Yep.
Aleka and Marata remain with Aaron. Benches to my idea at the moment: Jacob Laban, Dimitrik, and Tanisdale Smith. But we've got Alea Toa, who I think you're going to say is going to get a fitness test similar to Roger.
Yep.
And he might come in. So, what do you make of the squad so far? And probably start with the middles. Are you concerned with the Bunty and the Jackson Ford coming up against a massive, unchanged pretty much lineup for barring Hudson Young for the Raiders? Or do you think we'll go all right there in that space?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern, right? Like, it's definitely not Fish and Barnett, but Jacko's had a really good, solid start to his year overall. I think he's going to do incredible there. I know a lot of people probably have PTSD from the first game of the season in Vegas, seeing him start in that game as well. But obviously, that was a little bit of trials and tribulations with his rotation as well. Like if Webby gets his rotation right, I guess, and doesn't stretch out his minutes in those parts, I'm sure he could do a great job in the middle there. He'll learn a lot of lessons from the first time. And Bunty, we know what Bunty brings. Defensively, he's real strong in the middle. His defense is unreal, and he just takes those tough carries left, right, and center. So pretty happy with that two front row battle there. Obviously, the little late change that could happen. Let's say that Ali Leotoa comes in, he passes his fitness test, which is a very up in the air. Obviously, he's not due back till next week from memory, or maybe the week after. So he is going to be a couple of weeks early if he does come back in. But pushes Kurt Capewell to the edge, and then Maratini Cordair will get into that starting front row spot and maybe push Jackson Ford back into the bench as well. And we can do another rotation there too, which is what we are currently doing with Jackson Ford before the HIE. So, yeah, I think that they can do a job out there, but it's definitely not Fish and Barnett. And hopefully the boys can definitely hold in here. It's an uphill battle there.
Yeah, shout out to Possible as well. Great to see Capewell get that captain's nod. That was cool to see. Yeah, and we'll have to keep an eye on that late change to see if anything there. Let's go quickly to the bench in terms of Tanisdale Smith. And a Jacob Laban. Do you think Tanner can hold a spot, or is this if Leotoa comes in, does it obviously knock back, take him out of a spot there? Yeah,
Possibly, yeah. I feel like if Ali is all fit and ready to go, unfortunately, the guy to drop out of our bench would be Tanisdale Smith. I will probably just go Vaimonga and Jacob Laban due to Jackson Ford dropping to the bench and becoming that middle rotational piece there, because obviously Jacob Laban would be our edge back row depth piece as well. I think that's probably the way it goes. But if it is staying the way it is right now, you got Tanisdale Smith in that 17 jersey, or we have Tom Arley that could make a late push into, if they do want to rotate the young kid out, obviously, get him back in the cup, learn the lessons that he had before, or continue to hold his spot and learn his lessons in first grade while he can. So there's different options that we have there. My prediction is that we're going to keep Tanner on the bench there, and Kurt Catwell stays center this week. I don't know if Ali will be able to pass it. I didn't know the full extent of the ankle injury that he did have. But he was in a moon boot in Magic Round when I saw him, so usually that means it will be a little bit of time. So I think a fitness test would go well this week. May fail, he might be back next week or due to the week after.
Yep, yeah, that's a fair enough shout. I mean, shout out to Strictly who was saying that he might be, he was rolling on the mat, so he could be. Strictly, you might have seen a few things.
True.
So that could definitely happen. Tom Ali. I know a lot of people in the chat speaking Tom. Shout out to Terry Higgins as well. Ali, why? Actually, let's just break this down because me and you have been massive fans of Tom Ali.
Yep.
Over his tenure with us, and look, he was the first of the development guys, so to say, to come through. This is now his third year, and he's dropped off behind Abunti, behind Dimitri Leka and those guys. Why has he not and now Stale Smith, obviously. What has happened to Tom? Is this a product of him not buying into the culture, or is this a product of him just being the odd man out from a stylistic point of view? What do you make of Tom's plight?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of injuries. He's had a couple of injury setbacks throughout. Obviously when he got dropped back to Cup, he had a couple of injuries he's picked up then. But also, I think it's a little bit of time to learning the system a little bit more defensively, right? I feel like we probably agree. Attacking wise, Tom Ale is a great piece that we have in our side. A great front row forward that can do a great job on an edge as well. But defensively, he had some uncharacteristic moments. Especially towards the end of last year, there were some moments of dropouts from memory where he just stopped his moving his feet, allowed some gaps in behind, just some moments where he turns his brain off. And he's been working that a lot in Cup. He had a great performance in Cup last weekend as well. So great to see him back and firing. So we're obviously big fans there. It's just more defensive end that for me that I want to see our Tom Ale just become a little bit more consistent over time. Because the attacking side of things, he's definitely a damaging ball runner. He's got a really nice offload, and again, he has the ability to play on an edge and do a great run great lines there too. So it will take a little bit of time, but I think there's a combination of injuries and maybe just falling out with the defensive system a little bit over time with losing focus.
Okay, and this is a good point. Ali and Tanner both in last year's contract, so yeah, there's a bit of a battle there, isn't there?
Yeah,
South side. So, and I just realised we've got two Tanners. We got TANNER and you got TANNA. I was like, Tanner Boyd. I don't think I've seen him on the bench.
yeah.
I gotta be careful with this one. TANAH and Tanner TAW. Yeah, so we've got two Tanners. That's crazy.
Two tenors. It could be two different blokes, right?
Yeah. Let's go to the plight also with Tamati Martin, a guy that comes on for maybe 5 minutes in this game. Working in the middle. I know the initial idea was that he would be moving into the halves and then CHT would be moving into hooker. That happened against the Broncos, I think. Now he's purely playing middle and CHT staying out on the. Is this concept a good idea? And is it working? Is it, or is it just what is the reason? Because we thought initially it was going to be Healy, and this is 2 weeks now where you can actually say, no, this is an actual decision by Webby to go with it to Mighty. What is its impact, and why are we doing it, do you think?
I think there's a couple of things at play here. I think obviously rewarding Tumaide from his form in Cup. Obviously, everyone probably agrees that his form in Cup has been absolutely incredible. I know a lot of people would be like, yeah, but at the 6 jersey, Ash, and I completely understand that. But Tumaide, sitting him on the bench there, he's got the ability to play fullback, as we saw in the trials, right? We saw him with the Broncos play fullback. That opens up the discussion of if a fullback goes down or a centre or winger goes down, we can move some players around. Like Chance can go to centre, Tumaide can go to fullback. If a half goes down, Tamade can fill in that half role. He does a great job there. If a 9 goes down, we've seen him be the ability to play there 9. I don't enjoy him at 9, but he can play there. And even when that 13 jersey where he came on, I think it was against the Cowboys late in that game, and he ended up playing pretty well. Oh, no, not the Cowboys, sorry. That was Sam Healy.
Dragons,
I'm trying to think of the game. The Dragons, where he came on in the middle in that 13 jersey. I thought he actually did pretty well in the middle there too. So I think he's just got the ability to cover multiple different positions at a fairly high click, where you look at Tanner Boyd's probably more of a 9.5 cover. Sam Healy's more of a 9 cover and can play 13 at a click. I think Tom White can kind of filter himself throughout the majority of the squad, and we can make better changes in areas to really put him in the right position there to make something happen. So that's probably the reason why he's gone down that track. More of the fact of, I think, because we got centre and wingers down currently right now, depth-wise, Tamade opens up more ability to change some lineups late into the piece.
Is that purely why he probably beats a Healy in this kind of situation?
I would probably say so, bro.
Options.
Like,
yeah,
we lose Taine Tuaupiki dropping out into our reserves now, but we don't have, Rocco Berry, Ali Leotoa in those positions. We got Kurt Capewell, Adam Pompey. If one of those boys go down, we are very, very light on depth there. So we have to make a big move of Chance going to a centre and maybe Tamade going to fullback. It opens up those opportunities where if we ran Sam Healy, we're going to really struggle to we're going to have maybe, let's say, Sam Healy defending in centres or something like that, which is probably a little bit out of his realm.
I think that's where people are kind of getting misconstrued there. Tamati is probably the only guy that can kind of do that unique tasks. He doesn't know exactly what he's going to do on the day,
No.
but he's going to have to do it. So, he goes in the Dragons, he plays at lock. He just has to make those tackles. And he did all right, I thought. Then you're going to get a day where he's going to have to play in the halves. He's going to have to play fullback. So it's one of those tricky ones. And I agree, I don't think you go with it long term, but until you get everyone back that you're happy can cover multiple spots within itself, then you go back to that 4-man forward bench probably. But yeah, I think it hasn't burnt us. We've won every game since that. But yeah, what was your thought?
Yeah, I think that lastly on that, if we go full strength squad, right, I would sway towards Sam Healy being the 14 because we can go a hooker rotational piece, right? So that's we have Ali Leota, Rocco Berry or Adam Pompey in the centers, right? And then, we still have Kurt Cabell on the edge, right? So then we can go a Sam Healy into the 9 jersey, into the 14 jersey to do the 9 coverage. But because, we got Kurt Capewell playing out of position already into the centers, we got to have a little bit more cover in multiple other positions than if we are full strength. So I think that's the reason why we are going that way.
And I think Team Mackie, the only person could do that is CHT. Well, I think CHT is doing so well as a 6.
Yeah.
That flow, I think Webby made a decision and said, I'm not going to move him out of position like I did in the Broncos game. I'm going to keep him where he is. Tamai is just going to have to do this role until we get everyone back. But it's a good discussion anyway.
It is.
Are you happy with? We've kind of talked about Lecker and Laban. You kind of think they're interchangeable in many ways. I mean, you already kind of said that you could see Laban go start maybe, and Lecker come off the bench. You're happy with his defensive movements and what he's doing?
Yeah, 100%. I think that Lecker's doing a great job in that starting role. He's shown the experience that he can play an 80-minute role and do it at a high click. But he's also shown to start the season he can do the 40-minute role at a very high click as well. So I'd be happy if they did interchange Laban to start, Lecker coming off the bench for impact in that sort of sense. But Lecker also impacts the game fairly well for me in an 80-minute stint as well. Getting through decent meters, defending really well inside of Chanel Harris-Tavita on that edge. Sometimes when he goes to the right, Luke Metcalf on that edge. I think he's doing well in that position, so I'm very happy with those edge back roles there.
I know a sad one for a lot of people has been Taine Tuaupiki dropping out for obviously a Roger. How have you made of Roger's performance and just a bit of ring rust, obviously, with those drops? Yardage, topped the yardage meters at, I think, 190 on the NRL.com.
Yep.
So you could probably say from an impact from an offensive side, he's been pretty good. You're happy with his progress? It's just unfortunate Taine misses out. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, it's probably how I see it for sure. We know what Roger can bring. Former Dally M medalist at fullback, but what he can produce on the wing as well. Obviously not his greatest game last weekend, and maybe, as you said, maybe a little bit of ring rust coming into that position. I know the sunlight was billowing down on him for that drop ball. That wasn't a knock on. Shout out to referees again.
Shout out Casey.
Shout out Casey. But yeah, Taine Tuaupiki is the unfortunate one here, which sucks, but I cannot wait to see him in that New South Wales Cup team this weekend. If it does hold this way, he is going to tear up Cup, and that Cup team just continues to get stronger and stronger, even with the start of the year that it is now. So it does suck losing Taine out of that role, and I think he's done an amazing job there. But Taine understands the position that he is in the squad right now, and I feel like he's really happy with that position, that he has the ability to go into number 1 when there's injuries, and he can fill in that role as well, and he will get that jersey in the future, I believe, anyway.
Yeah. Look, this is probably like one of the most contested Warriors squads I've seen in recent memory. Like,
I agree, bro.
Guys nipping at the heels everywhere. Everyone's like, it's like musical chairs. Everyone's like circling around like some sharks. Like, if someone drops out, the music stops. Someone's ready to jump in as soon as someone's injured, bro. It's crazy.
100%, bro. And credit to the organization for working the salary cap the way that they've done, to where they've have a really strong New South Wales Cup team, a really good first grade squad overall, that there's arguments left, right and center who someone believes opinion wise on who's the best fullback at the club, who's the best halves at the club, who's the best nines at the club. Like, these discussions happen all the time on Warriors fans discussions and stuff like that. But that only just shows how competitive the squad are, and that just continues to push us into the future of these boys developing and getting better and better, so they don't lose those roles.
Because maybe we got it wrong last year. Maybe last year wasn't the year, bro. Remember we were saying, We were supposed to compete for 2024. This might be it. This actually might be the year, bro. I'm crazy. This is crazy, bro. Oh man, I love it.
I'm so happy with the way we're developing.
Yeah,
And,
it's
like overall, you know,
fantastic.
our first bar was supposed to be a top 8 side, and right, like there's still a long season to go. We may still only just hit
Yep.
that bar. But
Yep.
with what we're showing right now, we're showing really good potential in the squad. And if we are to finish in top 4, top 6s, whatever that's going to be, that is an incredible jump from what we were to what we were envisioning to start the season. Because a lot of people obviously had us around bottom 2s, stuff like that to start the season without Sean and that, and we bounced back so well.
Okay, man. Yeah,